Sorry, John.
Hello, 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 all of
Good
our
morning.
friends and family and fans out there. Welcome to the show, Signs of Life by American Awakening. You know who we are. We're here every day coming to you live from around the country. Everybody here is in some place different. We're here bringing you sort of the best of the good news of the day, reminding you that you're made for this season, that God's with us. He loves us. And with him, there's nothing we can't do. We've got a great show for you guys today. We've got music from Nashville, and we've got, of course, our friend Dan Hazeltine from Nashville as well. We're going to kick it off this morning with our house band. You know him, you love him, JBJ. What you got for us this morning?
Thank you, Marisa. I was just thinking of a song here and there, and went back to one of my heroes, John Foreman. And the reason I picked this song was it's pretty centering. Like your brain can be like all over the place, and your heart can be all over the place. But sometimes you need a song that can just center you and kind of get you back on track. So this is why I picked it. This is Your Love Is Strong. I hope you like it. Heavenly Father, you always amaze me. Let your kingdom come in my world, in my life. Give me the food I need to live through today. And forgive as I forgive the people that wrong me. Lead me far from temptation. Deliver me from the evil world. I look out the window, birds are composing. Not a note is out of tune or out of place. I walk to the meadow and stare at the flowers. Better dressed than any girl on her wedding day. So why should I worry? Why do I freak out? God knows what I need. You know what I need. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. The kingdom of the heavens is now advancing. Invade my heart, invade this broken town. The kingdom of the heavens is buried treasure. Would you sell yourself to buy the one you found? Two things you told me: that you are strong, yeah, you love me, yes, you love me. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love
Love it. Such a good classic song.
If John Foreman could do it better than that, I don't know how.
He can't. JBJ takes people's songs and makes them better.
Exactly.
Truth.
I love the soul. I love the heart. Thanks so much, Josh. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you to everybody out there. It's so good to be with you all today, coming to you from around the country, as Marisa said earlier. Marisa, I like you opening the show. We may have to do that a little bit more often. You've got a special flavor to it.
Well, thank you. But it's good to be back home. Good to be back the way things should be. Go ahead, JK. Take it away.
We're going to have a great show today, as Marisa teased out earlier. We've got the Nashville scene coming to you, but Nashville scene is going to bring us some Austin music today. We're looking forward to that. And a little Mighty Ducks theme today. Stand together, fly together. Come on. Sometimes it's so good. Stand together, fly together. You got to let people know what you're looking forward to, right?
All right. Okay. One day we get spoilers.
Okay. All right, Joel Searby, what do you got for us in Florida today?
Hey, everybody, coming to you from Florida today, where the debate over masks is raging in my community. I don't know about you, but, it makes me think of how many ways that we can find to disagree with one another, and how many ways that we can divide one another, and how life can really be tough when you're trying to do life with people who have different viewpoints about the world, about politics and religion and sexuality and all kinds of cultural issues. As we talk this week about radical togetherness and the radical us here during the Daily Dose, I want to just tell a quick story about how this has impacted my life and my family. And it's kind of a funny one, but I think it's a good little lesson, which is our family hosted for about 5 years what we call microchurch at our house, which is part of our kind of community in our faith family. And we had all kinds of different people coming in and out of there, people who were like us, people who were not, people who looked like us, people who didn't. Rich, poor, left, right, lots of different kinds of folks in and out of there, and lots of kids as well. And in our yard, we have these beautiful wildflowers. They're actually blooming right now. And my wife absolutely loves them. And so much so, even though there's like 20,000 of them in our yard, we have 5 acres, she scolds the kids if they step on them because you wouldn't want to lose one. Well, one night, we're in microchurch. All the adults are inside. The kids are all playing outside. We come out after our group. And the children, along with the babysitters who were supposed to be supervising, have decided it would be a good idea to rip up all the flowers. And I mean, there were flowers in hair, flowers scattered all over the yard. I mean, it was like a flower Armageddon out there. And, I was very proud of my wife, who is a little more hot tempered than me. I love you, baby. And she came out, we all came out, and here were these flowers just devastated. And at that moment, you're faced with this question, because every week you invite people into your home. And I know we're not doing that right now, but I hope that we are not going to isolate when we're going to invite people into our lives digitally and stay connected in different ways. And then as we re-engage, when you invite people into your life, sometimes things happen that you didn't expect and that you don't like. And so here we were faced with this decision about what we were going to do and how we were going to react. And I'm not saying we always get it right, but what ended up happening was we had a blast pulling all these flowers together, making bouquets, making little crafts, sending everyone home with a bouquet. And what ended up happening in the long run was, by making those choices, not only did it become a time of joy and connectedness and a great story, but all the flowers that got scattered that night have since gone to seed, and we have even more flowers. And so I think that's a great picture of what happens when we allow ourselves in radical togetherness to let our lives get upset a little bit, push through it, and come out on the other side. That's your Daily Dose today.
That's awesome, Joel. I read that this morning. I appreciated it first thing. And I had a question for you, though. I was trying to figure out exactly what portion of your yard was covered by the flowers. I'm trying to figure out how to proportion how mad one ought to be when the flowers get torn up. They're like thousands and thousands of flowers, of which hundreds got smashed. Give us a little more flavor.
So at the time, I would say, you were dealing with like a small area, maybe 50 by 50 out of 5 acres that had these wildflowers. And my wife really wanted them to spread across the whole yard. So I mean, we're talking about big swaths of this 50 by 50 is now like uprooted and thrown everywhere.
Got it. Flower Armageddon. That's a phrase I will not forget. keeper phrase for the day, Flower Armageddon. See if you can use that some other time out there today, folks. Jeff Bethke, what do you have? How you feeling today, Jeff?
Good morning. Good morning. Good, guys. Also, I'm looking at myself just in this is like my mirror moment. I'm looking a little red up here. I went spearfishing yesterday and I realized I got a little mask tan line right there. So that's always kind of fun. Was in the water, obviously, way too long right there. Okay, funny. Probably one of my favorite studies. This one's actually hilarious because I actually can't believe it's true. So Harvard study and I think Kent State University joined together on this one. And they wanted to study how people what people notice and how much they notice about their immediate environment when like different variables are happening and stuff like this. I literally can't believe this, but it's true. And so what they did is one study they set up that actually kind of got really popular and then went on to actually kind of create more research and stuff around this concept I think they call of change blindness is what we called. What they would do is they would have an actor come up to people on college campuses and just basically do small talk. Then in the middle of that small talk, they would have two guys, kind of like maybe construction workers or something, I think, be holding a wooden door. And the guys would walk in between the two people, right, to kind of block it. And they would stand there for like 3 to 5 seconds, before, like maybe say they drop something or need to adjust something in between the two people talking. So they'd break the conversation and then keep moving. After they moved, the person behind the door was a new person. So it was like, the actor swapped with another actor. And this is insane. Over half of the people, when they continued the conversation after that, didn't know that it was a new person. They just like the person just carried on with the conversation as if nothing had changed, even though the actual human behind the door had changed entirely. And again, this actually went on to kind of start this kind of whole area of research is called change blindness. And what it basically found is we actually rely a lot more on like cues and patterns and interpreting data to make it easy in our mind rather than interpreting all the little details all the time. We're not very observant, basically, is what we realize. And we rely on a lot of like kind of subconscious processing. And I was thinking of this study, and I think the perfect story that fits in with it is that story of Jesus, right? Where it's the woman who touches just the hem of his clothing. And he's in this huge crowd. And what does he say? Jesus says, someone touched me. He stops and says, someone touched me. Now the disciples say, we're in a huge crowd, like 1 million people touched you. But Jesus had the spiritual discipline of noticing others. And so he knew when someone really touched him, the woman who needed him, who needed healing, who needed to find him. And to me, I'm like, man, that is what we should be pursuing, even though by default, a lot of us don't notice. A lot of us don't pay attention. But when you follow Jesus, the person who notices others more than anyone else, you begin to cultivate that spirit as well. And I think that's something to chew on for today that we can be encouraged in, is that we are called to notice others. We are called to pay attention. And it is a discipline and a practice. But when you follow Jesus, being led by the Spirit with your eyes open, the world around you becomes way different and a lot more able to be seen. And that's what I think something to chew on for today.
That is quite a story, Jeff. I appreciate that. Could you post that one for us, and so we could post it out for everybody?
Totally. Yeah, that's a fun one. I mean, can you believe that? Like, isn't that hilarious?
That is great. That is great. Fantastic. So let's roll over to the Wow, So That's Happening segment with Calvin. Going to bring us some crazy stories in this crazy Corona world we're living in.
All right. Thanks, John. Yeah, I don't know about craziest stories, but we are bringing you some stories. So again, good afternoon, everyone. It is so good to be with each and every one of you. Yeah, every day. Just want to bring you a few headlines of what's going on out in the world. So today is Teacher Appreciation Day. And if there has ever been a time when we need to express our love and appreciation for our teachers, it's now. So teachers everywhere, from our Signs of Life, American Awakening community, thank you for everything you do. Also, Verizon, Michael's, Rosetta Stone, Costco, and many other restaurants across the country, they want to express their gratitude to you as well by offering you discounts throughout the week. So go please take advantage of it all. Also, being celebrated today is Giving Tuesday. So usually this annual day of giving happens on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But because of the unprecedented need due to Corona, Giving Tuesday has been moved up to today. So here are a few suggestions of how you can get involved in the Giving Tuesday action. First, become a pen pal for a senior in a nursing home. Second, become a remote volunteer for a nonprofit or community organization. And third, simple enough, go deliver a meal to a homebound senior. Lastly, Nike is donating 30,000 pairs of shoes to health systems and hospitals in cities across the United States. The Air Zoom Pulse, which was released in November 2019, is the company's first shoe designed for the healthcare athlete. Now, Nike is partnering with Good 360, a nonprofit that specializes in the efficient distribution of product donations to help deliver the shoes to workers all across the country. So Nike said in its press release that the effort is led by messages of gratitude to healthcare professionals. From one athlete to another, Nike athletes recognize the physical and mental resilience of healthcare athletes. So there it is, a few beautiful stories of what's going on today, and that the light of our compassion and generosity and gratitude can be a powerful thing in this world. So I think that leads us into our discussion topic of the day. Over to you, Marisa.
Thank you, Calvin. Yes, despite all of our giving to one another and finding ways to come together, there's actually been a growing movement. I don't know if you guys have heard about it sort of formally. I think we've probably all heard about it and assumed that things were going on, but even if you didn't know specifically. But so this movement is called, or people are being referred to as social distancing vigilantes. Now I know, we in this country, we love a good vigilante. We, the 70s had a whole bunch of vigilante movies. It's like a distinctly American concept, I think. But anyway, these people are people who, again, are frustrated because people aren't wearing masks. They're not closing non-essential businesses. They are, gathering in groups that are much larger than, 10 or what's being classified by states as, what's right. And so a lot of people are sort of turning into informants. They're calling police, they're calling public health authorities and employers of people who are violating social distancing decrees. And so these people are using sort of any form of communication they can land on. They're outing people through social media. People are posting on Facebook and Insta. They're taking pictures of people and sort of showing them in different capacities. They're using sort of neighborhood communication boards. They're making up huge posters and putting them on sort of poles, light poles outside. They're putting flyers on cars. People are outing people in whatever way they can. And so in this battle between folks, it seems like there are these two sides that have arisen. One, people who feel like they need to go to any lengths necessary to protect sort of public health, and that it's actually their civic duty to be reporting folks. And then there are these other people who feel like anything that's sort of even remotely in that sort of space of sort of ratting out people or calling authorities on people, it sounds like it's, evidence of some sort of totalitarian government or establishment that we find ourselves in. And what's even more interesting is, again, a lot of our cities and towns are actually encouraging this kind of vigilantism by setting up phone numbers and email addresses so people can sort of report in behavior as they see it. But cities like New York, Boston too, there have been lots of cities that have been so overwhelmed by people's responses to these phone lines or to email addresses that they've actually had to shut some things down because they can't handle the influx of all the photos and the emails. So guys, my question to you today is, we as folks of faith who have been called peacemakers, and we're, God told us we should want to be peacemakers. What should be our responsibility to our brothers and sisters, our local communities? Should we have any part in this kind of vigilantism? Should we get involved or stay out? I mean, how do we encourage peace in this kind of climate?
And this is a tough one. I'm going to jump in on this because it's really personal to me. So my wife and I own a small retail store in a rural town in a county that is, the county is very blue or progressive. Our community is very red. So we're like right in the middle of these dynamics right now. And, I have my feelings about what the government should and shouldn't do. But I think for me, I keep coming back to this idea of like, if I'm a Jesus follower, I got to be asking the question, am I doing, only looking out for my own interest, or am I looking to the interests of others? And so like when I think about being a vigilante, I would personally not go that far. But I think we all should ask ourselves on either side of this is, what's my motives? What are my motives here? And am I trying to like stick it to somebody to stick it to them, or am I really looking out for the other? Whichever side we're on. So that's kind of where I keep going back, but it's tough.
It is. I mean, this is, most times before Corona, when people would use the phrase like, this is life and death, it usually wasn't. But now, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeff?
I agree. It's an interesting debacle, and I think Joel is right. It's always usually, like most things, it's complex. It's kind of case by case. I think the thing I just think of is, we're, as Christians, we're called to be good neighbors, in the art of neighborliness. And now fleshing that out is the whole answer to this. I don't know exactly that what that is, but I think what would it look like to be a good neighbor? Sometimes to be a good neighbor, that is kind of protecting a community, right? And sometimes to be a good neighbor, it's maybe, having a little bit more, like, one thing that actually bothers me, and I'll even give a little like a, metaphor or whatever with like, the HOA stuff. Like, to me, I can't stand how like, when you get something, can you tell I got some bitterness here? When you
mow your lawn, Jeff.
Yes, but when you get like a letter in the mail or something that says from the HOA that says some noise complaint or something with landscaping, and I'm just like, literally, what happened to like a real neighborhood? Like, if I'm sawing at a time that you don't like, please come tell me, and I would be more than happy to be like, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. Like, oh, you work at that time? You can inconvenience me. Like, that's what a neighborhood should do. You know what I mean? And so I think like similar with even the law stuff, like we don't always have to take it to the law. I think like take it to the relationship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it bothers me that we're so horrid at that. Like we are just horrible, probably more than any time in human history, because we're so disconnected. We don't know how to do conflict, all that stuff. When it's like, take it to the relationship, like go tell a person like, oh, is that wise? Is that smart? Should you be doing that? Now I'm an Enneagram 8, so I have no problem doing this. And I think everyone else should have no problem doing this. But yeah, so I think that's one thing I would think of too, is like, man, can we keep it a little bit more organic in the relationships when you maybe want to confront or have conflict than just like taking it to the bureaucracy, But that's just another 2 cents.
No, but it's real. I mean, people have talked for a long time that we've lost this art of neighboring. How do you live in a building, you've got, 20 people on your floor, you don't know any of them, and that's one building. Your neighborhood can be the very same way. I mean, yeah, it's interesting that in a situation like that, people who are trying to care for one another are right now ending up sort of either getting people locked up or getting them to lose their jobs. I mean, it's I don't know. What does it look like to care for one another in such a serious time? JK, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I was hoping you're going to skip me today, because this one's too hard. Masks and no masks and vigilante mask getters. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I think the the one thing we haven't mentioned yet is the idea of how divergent the perspectives are on things that are objectively true or not, right? So that's really tough. I mean, a poll came out today showing that there are wildly divergent views on whether coronavirus deaths are being reported accurately. And people on the left end of the spectrum are inclined to believe that they're being underreported, and people on the right end of the spectrum think they're being overreported. And so you have around something which is a more or less objective fact. Yes, there are systemic reasons why they wouldn't quite get it right, and I could go into those details for a while. But you have pretty much everybody disagreeing about a number. Now, again, I'm not saying that the numbers just come down from in tablets from on high and they're always accurate. I don't mean that. It's just that there's so much divergence on perspective that we're struggling to do something like count a death related to a virus, and it just goes. Then of course it shoots through everything. Then right, if you don't trust even something objective, quote unquote, as a number, then you say, well, what's the relationship of the mask to the thing to the grouping, and are you guys in a family when you're 8 of you together, or is that a group of non-family? It gets more and more complicated, layers and layers and layers, before even getting to the peacemaking bit of it all, Marisa, which is like what a role is to play. And I guess what I probably do when I think about all that together is just to, I guess the peacemaking role, I suspect, is one of having empathy with the many different perspectives, right? I mean, it's basically say, okay, I got it. I'm going to agree with you over there. One end of the spectrum or another end of the spectrum, whatever that might be. The really hardcore, everybody should be a million miles away from each other and masks every place person, to the person that's like completely libertarian and let's go out and get into big crowds together right now, which whatever. Say, all right, I get where you're coming from. I don't think it's the right answer, but you know what? Let's let me sort of see where you're coming from. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, just this notion of trying to respect the personhood of people, regardless of sort of what that looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to catch myself the other day, and I don't know if I mentioned this to any of you guys. I was at a stoplight.
You did. It was a great story. It was a great story.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't say it on the show, did I?
You did. You did.
No. Okay. Right. Well, for all of you viewers, I'm just going to share really quickly. Yeah, I was at this stoplight, and there was, a couple of folks. They were, laughing hysterically and having a great time out on the street, and they didn't have masks on or anything. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I just sort of watched them, and they sort of, continued to laugh it up, have a great time. Cross the street, walk past a bunch of people who had masks on, and go straight into a store, without any masks, any gloves or anything. And they were just like, as if like nothing was happening. And I had to catch myself because I was like, wait, like, do you not see? Do you not know? And then it was like, wait, stop, Marisa. You don't know what the situation is. You don't know you don't know anything about this. And so before you're going to take time out of your day and your life to get really upset about these people that you don't know, you don't understand where they're coming from or where they're going or what's going on, perhaps you should just say, okay, Lord, I don't know. I pray for their safety and the safety of those around them. Like, I wasn't going to pull my car over and run out and like lecture them in my masks. I don't think that's the thing to do. But I think I'm saying all that just because it really does. We've talked for the last couple of days about like things being situation by situation and moment by moment. This feels like one of those things. Maybe there might come a time when I might have to pull my car over and go lecture someone. But I don't think it was, a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Calvin.
Man, that's so good. I think, something that you said, Marisa, which is absolutely right. Disagreements I don't think it's something new to the moment we find ourselves in. But when things are life and death, as they seem to be now, everything is heightened. So I think part of the witness, perhaps right now, part of our call as peacemakers, especially as people of faith, is in the disagreements. Now, forgive me, I'm going to be a little more radical. I'm going to push the ball a little further. You guys were talking about empathy and understanding. I'm wondering, is there a powerful witness in actually beyond just willing to understand, but to take the next step and choosing to love them and serve them? What does it look like to choose and love the person that disagrees with you, that seems to be putting everything in jeopardy, everything in danger, yet to choose them even if they won't choose you? So I think there's a choice in being willing to understand, and there's a choice even being willing to take action and find a way to love them. So again, I feel like that is a little more radical. It's a little more, right? But I think again, it feels like the gospel's in there though. I mean, before we chose him, before even when we were putting him on the cross, he chose us, and he chose to love us and serve us. And so again, what would that look like here? But I think if we as a church could do that, I mean, again, I think people would see peacemakers and see peace even within us.
That's good. Yeah, and Marisa, I think there's a key part about Jesus in the third way here too. Like he would very often completely change the subject And I think we can change the subject in some ways by, if someone is like a vigilante on masks and public health, maybe we can have a conversation about fear, because maybe that's what's really driving that. If somebody's like a vigilante against the government and regulations, maybe we can have a conversation about like who's really in control and what really matters and what is really human flourishing. And so I think there's ways to change the subject too.
All right, so Jesus in the third way. Woo! We're escalating this turn by turn.
That's what we do. It's what we do. We escalate.
What we do. So we get bigger and bigger. The conversation, the question doesn't get smaller, and we focus in and come up with a solution. It goes boom.
Love it.
Great stuff. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But stand together, fly together. We did promise these people some mighty ducks, right?
We did. Absolutely.
Quack, quack.
That's right, Jeff. What you got here?
Yes, you guys already stole my thunder, but well, no, in a good way, because it was like I'm so stoked that we mentioned it from the beginning, so people could stay engaged the whole episode. Oh, best movie of all time! You picked a great one. 1, 2, and 3, they're just phenomenal. I literally had the jersey. I was terrible at hockey, but I wanted to play just because the movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, great choice. One of the best movies of all time. Yeah, let's just roll the clip.
We're Team USA, gathered from all across America. And we're going to stick together. You know why?
Because we are ducks, and ducks fly together.
That's right, Jan. And just when you think they're about to break apart,
Ducks fly together. And when the wind blows hard and the sky is black, ducks fly together.
and when everyone says it can't be done, ducks fly together.
Oh, I just love that movie.
Ducks fly together.
Good.
Let's go.
How old were you when you first saw that one, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, when did it even come out? Probably like 5 or 7 or something like that. It's so good. Oh,
So good.
I love it.
That was a huge part of my childhood. I grew up on
Same.
hockey player. Marisa, I knew you played hockey as well.
Wow.
Before game day, you got to watch D1, D2, or D3.
Yes. D2 was so good. Yeah, it came out in 1992. Yeah. It's amazing.
Quack, quack, boys. Quack, quack.
Yeah.
Quack, quack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yup. If Flower Armageddon doesn't get you, together will.
Exactly.
All right. So poor Dan has been waiting. We're keeping him on hold. Come on, Dan.
Hey, how are you?
Lainey. Hello, Lainey.
Welcome.
Hi.
So here we are. I'm in Nashville, and I love that line, "Ducks fly together." In Nashville, over the last couple of days, there's a few other things that have been flying together, and that's patio furniture, trampolines, and tree limbs have all been flying together. We've had so much wind here; it's been crazy. But it's Nashville, and so we take it all in stride. They're going to kick us. Mother Nature is going to kick us when we're down, and that's just okay. So, yeah. So anyway, my guest today actually is coming to us. She's up in Kentucky, but she hails from Austin, Texas. I first met Lainey. She was working with one of my cohorts in Jars of Clay, Matt Odemark, and she was working on a project and invited me to come in and sing. And after that, I became more acquainted with her music and just found that her writing was just fantastic. She came out and played a few shows with us and really loved what she was doing. She is quite versatile as an artist. Doing a lot of work in the folk community, but then being able to shift and do a little more in the alternative space. Part of a band called the Gray Lakes, which has a little bit of a throwback sound. Bands that get referenced when they hear Gray Lakes are like the Cockatoo Twins, which one of my favorites, and Blonde Redhead. So some obscure artists that some people might not have heard of, but fantastic. But anyway, aside from just music, in our current culture, we know that music is, for most of us who have been doing it professionally, is actually really just a side hustle. We don't get to actually make any money doing it. And so So what we have here is that Lainey is actually also quite the entrepreneur and has a small business, and so we're going to talk to her about that as well. But first, I just want to say welcome, Lainey Wright, to the show. Thanks for being on with us today. How are you?
Doing wonderfully. Thank you so much for having me. What a treat. I haven't really had a solid plan for several weeks now, so this is something to very much been looking forward to.
Good. Well, that's good to hear. So we were able to give you something on a schedule.
Yes, I could write
nice.
it in, which I love doing, getting to fill in my calendar. So
it's good. Most people have asked me, what's been hardest to remember, and I usually I'm like, I kind of know what day of the week it is, but I have no idea what month we're in. So yeah.
Yeah, don't know the date, but I know the day of the week. Yeah, I'm kind of
right. So that's where we are. So anyway, I wanted to just see, how are you doing? I mean, this has been a very strange season for everybody, really, to figure out how to find some footing, to live day to day as an artist, as an entrepreneur. How has this been hitting you? What have you been experiencing?
It's been for sure an interesting time and a tough time. I mean, yeah, things have slowed way down on the work front for me, which has been a little bit stress inducing. But I think knowing that it's a very interesting feeling knowing that we're kind of in this global situation all together and everyone is having some sort of experience that's not the norm. And so I think while I do personally have some anxiety issues here and there and stress, and I know that my situation is not as, I guess, dire as a lot of people. And so just trying to keep a perspective of that. And also being really inspired watching the way that communities are coming together and being creative and finding ways to stay connected. I think I've been very inspired by the human spirit and the resilience of that. And so while it's easy to read headline after headline and article after article and get really stressed at the unknowns, I think it's been more of just kind of, I've been finding hope and inspiration in the stories of the human spirit and trying to hold on to those while staying informed. But also just, knowing that while our humanity might be a fragile existence, it's also a resilient spirit. And so holding on to that.
Very well said. Well, guitar there, and I'm curious to know if you'd be willing to sing at least one song for us today.
I would love to.
Really great. Good.
Would love to. Cool. Well, I'll start with this song. It was originally written sort of inspired by my brother and his now wife. They had a 7-year long distance relationship across the ocean, and I just kind of got to see the way that love can change and the different characteristics of it, and we don't always get to see every, I think, facet of what love can be and what it can do. And so I'm sort of feeling this again now, and how we're all in our own long distance relationships with everyone. And so it's kind of been interesting to see the way that we've remained connected in whatever way we've been able to, and watching love kind of, again, take a different shape and a form, and meet us all in the place that we need it to. So this is called What Love Does. There's an ocean straight ahead. You're on the other side instead. On my hand, a golden ring, the promise you'll come back to me. It's what love does, it never minds. Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. You said you'd fill the space between with songs of love you'd sing to me. I said I'd always meet you there where there's no time or space to Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. Wait for me. Wait for me. Oh, I will wait for you. Wait for me. Oh, they say that love is blind, but I can clearly see your heart is mine. So I won't wonder as I wait, you'll cross the ocean back to me someday. It's what love does, it never minds. Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. Sometimes it leaves, sometimes it waits behind. Wait for me. Wait for me.
Oh,
So good.
Thank you.
so nice.
Thanks
Yeah.
so much.
So let's talk a little bit about your other craft. So you obviously songcrafter, songwriter, but years ago you started becoming interested in leather.
Yeah.
And
Random.
out of context that might sound strange, but I'm actually really curious to hear what you're up to these days with that and how that has evolved. What's been going on with you since? Yeah, so music is obviously a great gift that you have, but obviously it only fills certain buckets that you have to fill.
Right.
So how does this all work out with you now?
Yeah. So, a few years back, I just developed an interest in leatherworking, and I did an apprenticeship with a guy in Austin. And then a couple years after that, decided I was really enjoying it. And at the time, also the shift in music to be a little bit more for myself in a way, playing here and there, but not being the main focus. I found that those two things were existing together really nicely. So I kind of just took the opportunity to start a small leather goods business. And so I have a little studio space in Austin and hand make leather goods. My company is called Weather and Story, and it's a couple years old, and I'm just slowly but surely trying to, learn how to do business stuff.
Good. Which is, it's very difficult to do that in this climate. Obviously, we know that small businesses are suffering. Are you able to sort of just be patient in that, or has it been just real challenging? Have you where do you see that now?
It has been a challenge the last month for sure, and I think what's the good that I'm seeing is I've sort of taken the time to start learning a lot about online presence and marketing and that kind of stuff. And so because most of my business comes from person-to-person events, and so I'm learning that who knows what the rest of the year is going to look like. And so trying to just take the time to learn and do the side of things that I was always just easy to throw off and push off, because I could go and make stuff instead and know that I would have markets to sell them at. So at the moment, I'm doing some online courses and trying to just build up my sort of digital knowledge.
Can we find you online right now with your goods?
What's that?
Can we find you right now with your goods?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weatherandstory.com is the website.
Weatherandstory.com. Can we post that, Marina, please?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah.
you'll be frantically hand making leather goods now.
Gladly, yes. It would be amazing.
Well, we'd love to hear another song from you as well.
Sure.
Are you able to play one more? Thanks so much, Lainey, for spending a little time with us today. It's great to hear you sing. It's been quite a few years now since I've had the chance to connect with you, and I'm glad to see you and glad to know you're doing well.
Yeah, well, thank you. I am very grateful for the invitation to join you guys, and also just to now know about this daily encouragement. So yeah, really, really grateful to get to be a part of it today. All right, well, I will play a song. This one's called Olive Tree. And it's one that is just sort of one I like to come back to when I'm in need of just a little pick-me-up. And it's sort of the idea that there's always something around the corner or over the hill that we can't always see, but we know it's there. The idea that, like, even when the sun's hiding behind the clouds, it still exists and it's still doing what it's always done. So yeah, this is just hold on to a little hope. It's called Olive Tree. There's a place just over the hilltop where I stand that I cannot see. I can faintly hear the laughter, yeah, that sound. Take my hand, let's go running across the valleys and the streams. We will dance in the garden by that old olive tree. There's a place my papa told me where my hope will live and breathe, and we will overflow with gladness, and yeah, our song will never leave. Take my hand, let's go running across the valleys and the streams. We will dance in the garden by that old olive tree. I was never meant to stay here alone. My feet are light as air as I run to where I come from. Oh, there's a day when the earth beneath me will not feel my steps anymore. Those I love who've gone before me will be waiting, I'm sure. Take my hand, let's go running across the valleys and the streams. We would dance in the garden by that old olive tree, by that old olive tree. Take my hand, let's go running.
Yeah. Woo. Great. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Lainey, thanks so much for spending some time with us. And we do hope that things will pick up for you, just both, in the work that you're doing with music, but also leathercraft and with your shop. We do hope people know where to find it now. And yeah, but it's good to see you. I'm glad you're healthy and doing well.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, and thanks to all of you.
Before we lose you, Lainey, so are you Austin or are you Kentucky?
Yes. Well, I live in Austin. I'm in Kentucky at the moment.
Got it. Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm based in Austin. So.
Fantastic. Well, I looked up Weather and Story a second ago. It's beautiful. It's
gorgeous. Thanks.
Gorgeous stuff. I love it.
Thank you so much.
I love it. And Austin's such a wonderful town. My daughter and her fiance are both Austin folks these days. And
nice. Okay.
Love being in Austin. They themselves are actually up in Vermont right now, though, because they came up here to planned their wedding 8 weeks ago and then got COVIDed up here. So
Ooh, yeah. Well,
place in Vermont.
not a bad place to be isolated. If
It's not
you
terrible.
imagine.
It's not terrible.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what we're hearing is that the temperature down there has been 95 or something.
Oh yeah, it's been shooting up. So yeah, I'm sure it's lovely where you guys are.
Well, a little bit cold. I sometimes
Okay.
complain about that,
Mhm.
but it's still lovely. So,
Yeah.
Lainey, thanks for being with us. We really enjoyed having you. It was fantastic, Dan. Thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there, God loves you. God's got you. You're going to make it through this tough time. You are made to take on adversity like this and overcome it. We're going to get through this. We've gotten through tough times before. We're going to get through this now. And until tomorrow, God bless you. God be with you. God strengthen you, and keep fighting the good fight. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow and connecting with you on pod and all that. Thanks so much. Bye now.